So I really don't want to talk about this topic. Well, I do and I don't. I don't in the sense that this topic's very personal. Well, it gets more personal for me. And it's very hard for me. Because if you haven't figured it out by the name of the video, I'm just going to put it out there. James Earl Jones is very special to me. Outside of Mufasa, what kept me connected to Star Wars, even though after Gina Carano, I refused to continue. What made Star Wars perfect for me was the story of Anakin. I'm young. To me, Star Wars was the tale of Anakin. I saw the OT first, but I was young, and when I saw the OT, shortly after the prequels started coming out. So Anakin Skywalker was my character. Was the character I connected most to. Was the character I liked. And through that, Darth Vader was my favorite character in Star Wars. It is what led me to being a very big fan of villains in media. And something that was very important to me in most media was I needed a compelling villain. I required a compelling villain in order to fully invest myself in a story. It's one of the major reasons I'm having a hard time becoming connected to Rings of Power. There is no villain. Well, there is a overall villain, but we don't know much about him. I don't know the villain of She-Hulk, and that's why I dipped out. I require a good, compelling villain. One of the reasons outside of the story, one of the things that actually led me to giving Sandman, besides a 1 or very, very shit ratings, even though I gave it shit scores, was the fact that I did like the villains that they portrayed. I like a good villain. And there is no better villain in cinematic history to me than Darth Vader. It's one of the reasons why in Obi-Wan, when I heard what they did to Vader and made him just pathetic, I was pissed. Darth Vader is one of the greatest villains in my opinion. And he is one of the greatest, to OT fans, he is the greatest villain. To prequel fans, Clone Wars fans, whatever you want to call yourself, he's the greatest tragic hero. And Darth Vader is the tragic hero for me, greatest villain, whatever you want to call him. He's the greatest. And the voice behind Darth Vader, voice behind Mufasa, one of the greatest actors, in my personal opinion, in modern history, and a man that I have some of the utmost respect for. A man that I am willing to say is just downright fantastic is James Earl Jones. And he has been treated dirty, so I don't fully blame him for his decisions here, but it is something that we should talk about. From CBR, James Earl Jones signs over Darth Vader voice rights, retiring from Star Wars. James Earl Jones, the iconic voice of Star Wars Darth Vader, signs over character's voice rights after 45 years, thus retiring from the role. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that I know Lucasfilm is just going to use this to continue Darth Vader and use crappy voice overs to continue Darth Vader's existence, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But it's the fact that... Wait, I think I said that wrong. If this was the end of Darth Vader, I wouldn't have a problem with this. In fact, I would be perfectly fine with saying, hey, Darth Vader had his run, Obi-Wan doesn't exist, Darth Vader properly died, sacrificing himself at the end of Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader is over. Let us remember this tragic hero / great antagonist for what he was. But I know Disney is not going to do this. I know that Disney is going to take this as an opportunity to do exactly as they did to Mark Hamill in Boba Fett, and to continue what they did in Obi-Wan. But let's just get into it. After 45 years, James Earl Jones is saying goodbye to the galaxy far, far away by officially retiring from Star Wars. According to Vanity Fair, Jones has signed the voice rights to his character Darth Vader over to Lucasfilm and Respeech. The latter is a Ukrainian company that uses archival recordings of an AI program to create new dialogue with the voice of performers who have either aged out of the roles or have passed away. This method was recently used to recreate the voice of young Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, for the Book of Boba Fett. And I didn't watch Book of Boba Fett through Disney Plus. I refused. I watched it through EFAP Minis. And I didn't hear Mark Hamill's voice a lot, but when I did hear it, it didn't feel natural. And that was a common criticism of Book of Boba Fett, was Luke Skywalker did not sound right. Though he sounded like the pitch, the audio, all that stuff was correct. But something about it felt soulless. And I agree. It was very much, Grogu, you must do this. Oh, Grogu, please continue. Something like that, you know. You must either choose the Force of the path of the Jedi and give up on all beloved things like, you know, Mando. Or you can go to Mando and give up entirely on the path of the Jedi. See, that it feels soulless. It doesn't have that pitch or that range that it should have, that emotion behind it. Though let's just continue. And that was a common criticism of Book of Boba Fett. Besides the fact that this show was utter crap, but Mark Hamill's voice, not having any soul, not having any emotion behind it, was one of the biggest criticisms. And they used this method to also help mimic Vader's voice. Though it was not properly Vader's voice, they said it sounded similar, but it was not proper, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It goes on to talk about Matthew Wood, who was a sound editor at Lucasfilm, and he helped with Jones's voice for 32 years. And he assisted in Rise of Skywalker, a movie that I regret watching, a movie that I still cannot believe that I did what I did, and I did something that I'm still kind of ticked off about doing, but I did it. And I watched the movie opening weekend, and it was crap. But basically this article goes on to talk about how the plans are that because Jones gave his voice up to both Lucasfilm and Respeech, that there's a good chance that they're going to use his voice continuing into the Star Wars universe, if it even survives. And I think this gives a good topic. Through all of Star Wars, somebody has a character that they were able to connect with at an emotional level. A character that stuck them firmly to Star Wars. And for me, it was James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, going into Hayden Christensen, and I can never remember the actor for A New Hope, as Anakin. Anakin was my favorite character. I really liked Anakin. I like the prequels. I like Filoni's Clone Wars. I also really love I can never pronounce his name, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars as well. And through it all, Anakin has always been my favorite character, leading into Darth Vader, who, in my opinion, is a tragic hero. I know some people don't like that opinion, but to me, Darth Vader is a tragic hero, and there is no more iconic voice than James Earl Jones. And with this deal going through, all I can see is Star Wars deciding to make another version of, say, Obi-Wan, and saying, hey, with this, we are going to radically change the character, make him into something that he's definitely not, and make him soulless, make him all this and that, but he will have a similar sounding voice to James Earl Jones. It might even be the exact same voice as James Earl Jones, just AI'd, but it will not have the soul behind it. And I find that as an issue. I would prefer them to just simply say, hey, Darth Vader is done. We will no longer continue using the character. We will properly give the character a send-off, and it's over. But we can't do that now, can we? And James Earl Jones is by far one of my favorite actors. James Earl Jones is by far one of my favorite voice actors. And besides him as the definitive Mufasa, he is also the definitive Darth Vader, and there is no other actor to be Darth Vader. And I just see Disney Star Wars bastardizing Darth Vader more and more, and I am not for it. I am not excited about it. In fact, I am very against it. And it really is sad. Because I vehemently agree with the idea that, granted, this is a biased idea, and this is an idea that I think firmly supports. It's an idea whatever. That Darth Vader is the character and is the reason that throughout all the shows I watch, I really do require a compelling villain in order to properly watch the show. In order to properly be invested in the show, I need that villain. I need that villain arc. I need that villain story. It's one of the reasons I love anime. Anime has amazing villains. It's one of the reasons I love Cobra Kai, because even through the great characters that are deemed good guys, you get John Kreese and Terry Silver as really compelling bad guys. I need a good villain. It's one of the reasons why I'm very terrified of Doctor Doom being brought into the MCU potentially. Because Doctor Doom could be the greatest villain in the MCU and could be a Darth Vader comparable. Or comparison, whatever you want to say. He could be similar to Darth Vader, but we're not going to get that. And right now I'm seeing one of the characters that I connected with personally throughout all of Star Wars potentially being ruined. But through all that downside, what I do have to say to end this all off is James Earl Jones is an amazing person. He's an amazing voice actor. He's an amazing actor. And Disney has treated him with such disrespect that I do not blame him for wanting to finally hang up his role as Darth Vader. Whenever Disney does the, Black History Month and celebrating their black actors, the two black actors they never want to celebrate are James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, or they only recently started doing it, but they really don't do it that much, is Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian. And those are the two characters from the OT that I really, really like. And I could really empathize with, and I could really appreciate. And I feel it's really sad seeing them getting treated this way. Especially characters that I have enjoyed. One of the only saving graces, even though I think the movies are utterly shit, in the sequel trilogy, I think they at least did Lando Calrissian decently, predominantly because they did not put him on the screen for so long, and when he was on the screen, it wasn't that awful. But these are two characters that I love, and for James Earl Jones, I say, I wish you the best. I wish you to have a wonderful life moving forward, and I wish you to have just a fantastic retirement. Darth Vader will always be James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones will always be Darth Vader and Mufasa. And James Earl Jones is one of the biggest reasons why I think I am a Star Wars fan. So with that, if you like the video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, whatever's. Share it out with your friends if you like this. I'm dealing with this right now, and it's really hard. But I love James Earl Jones, and I do not see myself never loving James Earl Jones. So, with that, I bid you adieu, my dear friend. My dear, whatever you want to call it. I'm struggling. So